Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
Todd.
An inmate at Nevada Southern Detention Center. To accept this call, press 5. To refuse this call, hang up now.
It's good to talk to you. Thanks for all the cards and support.
You're welcome, brother. We're grateful that you stand.
Well, you know, if I don't, who will?
Look, there's a couple of problems here. One is the BLM is not a military or a law enforcement entity. I was shocked to see that they even have troops dressed in camouflage and with M16s. It really looked like they were fighting a war rather than against a foreign invader, rather than enforcing a judgment against an American, in this case, a patriotic, heroic American. Two, they are not defending the First Amendment. They may think they are, but when they say, here's a free speech zone, and they literally cordon off 25 square yards and say, if you want to criticize us, you have to get inside that tape. If you're outside the tape, we're going to arrest you. And by the way, that 25 square yards is 3 miles from where we're having the confrontation with this rancher. Sure. That is prohibited by the First Amendment. The First Amendment presumes that you can say anything you want about the government. And if the government makes it impossible for the government to hear what you're saying by putting you 3 miles away, then the government has interfered with your First Amendment rights.
So you say a violation there of the Constitution.
Oh, look, this whole thing is done so inappropriately. I happen to believe that this land belongs to the rancher, but the courts have disagreed with me, and the courts have decided it doesn't.
Twice.
And the courts have decided that because he grazed on this government land, he owes the government money. But when you owe the government money, they don't come with guns and troops, and they don't threaten the media that are there to cover it. You file a document in the courthouse, and it's a judgment on the property. And then when the property passes by inheritance, or when you sell it, one of which must eventually happen, the government will get its money plus interest. The draconian, authoritarian way that the government is going after Mr. Bundy is obviously to try and scare him and scare ranchers and send a message which is utterly un-American and not consistent with a free people.
You mentioned inheritance. Are they trying to scare his family? Because it seems as though they are willing to die over
this. Oh, they would
this.
love to scare his family. Look, the Bundys have been there for 150 years. They would love to scare his family away. I don't think they'll succeed in doing it.
Judge, thanks for being with us.
Oh, you're welcome, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey,
and also,
my attorney.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about your attorney. How's it going?
My attorney on Wednesday gave me permission to talk with you guys and some others that have a media presence.
You bet.
So, Warren Markowitz. So, just to bring you guys up to speed where we are, the judge has, after, almost 3 months, finally started to rule on some of our motions. And the government is filing its final reply, hopefully its final reply by today. And then my attorney finally was able to access Larry Wooten's second memo on Monday.
Woo, woo.
Praise God. He's the FBI whistleblower, right?
Yeah.
He's the BLM. He was the lead investigator for the Bureau of Land Management for almost 3 years. Who wrote Wooten 1, the first memo, and now has Wooten 2 out, his second one, which is a response to the government's motions against me and Cliven's group for a motion for reconsideration. So, as it stands, my attorney says, quote, that Wooten 2 is an indictment against the BLM's policies, procedures, and operations, and makes Wooten 1 look like a bedtime story. And Wooten 2 is the Amityville Horror Picture Show.
Well, praise God, he's got his hands on it. Praise God.
Yeah, the government is in. No, we don't have our hands on it. We were only allowed to read it and take notes.
Oh, I see. You don't have a copy. I see. Okay.
It's a new nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
They do not want it out of their possession. But I do, a little birdie told me that we do have a copy of it into some allies' hands, and we're hoping that here in the next few weeks it's going to be released to the public.
Great.
Okay, great.
So where we are right now, why I called you guys, I don't know how far your reach is, but this is what we need to do. Up to this point, Wooten 1 and Wooten 2, both of his memos are what's called hearsay. And the government keeps saying, well, that's just hearsay, and we haven't had a chance to cross-examine him on the witness stand. Well, as we all know, Myrie, the U.S. attorney that was prosecuting me, Myrie, during my trial, had Wooten, conspired with Wooten's boss to have Wooten removed from the case and have his entire investigation confiscated from him, and had him transferred out of the area and was told, don't talk about the case. So he wrote Wooten 1 there during Cliven and the boys' trial, and now wrote Wooten 2. What we are now attempting to do, and why my attorney is giving me permission to talk to you folks, is we are attempting to raise money to depose Larry Wooten, put him in a room under oath, and have a deposition with him, so that his memos are no longer hearsay, they are new evidence. The likelihood of what Larry Wooten would say under oath would probably lead to us requiring to depose Larry Wooten's boss, Kent Kleeman, who works for the BLM and is a high-ranking supervisor. That may lead to deposing Stephen Myrie, the U.S. attorney, former U.S. attorney, that was prosecuting us, that entered into a criminal conspiracy with Wooten's boss to have him removed from the case during my trial. So this is where we are. They want to play hardball, and they want to see. I'm their $500 mount on the wall. That they illegally shot me and stuffed me and hung me on the wall, and I'm all they have to show for it, other than Burleson, for $500 million.
Yeah. Right.
They don't want to let me go.
Yep.
So if they won't fold and they keep trying to up the ante and keep me in here, then we're going to call their bluff, and we're going to attempt to depose Larry Wooten.
Well, how much money do you think it would cost to depose him? How much money are we talking about?
We're attempting to raise $10,000. We'll need my attorney to be probably 2 days deposing him, then airfare, hotels. We don't know if my attorney has to go up there to Boise or get Wooten down here. But this is, as Cliven and I have talked, Cliven was a little upset not to be able to get all of this stuff exposed, because they ultimately just dismissed him before the truth really came out.
Right.
There's a lot of motions out there that never got answered because the case got dismissed, and then Mel and Davey and them got dismissed by the government. So there's a lot of truth that has never been released to the public. So what we are attempting to do now is to start getting what actually happened here.